Good evening and welcome on in Chicago. You have found your way once again to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Another fast-paced, fun-filled hour where we're going to be talking about the Bears. We're going to be talking about Dalton and Justin Fields. We're going to be talking some college football tonight, too. The Fighting Illini kick things off later this week. We will be discussing all things happening down in Champaign, as well as the new alliance that the Big Ten has suddenly found itself involved in. What does that mean for the college landscape? And then finally, it's food week here at IE Sports Radio. Larry threw the idea out there to us several weeks back to all of the different hosts. He threw some different suggestions at us, and talking about food is what won out. So we will be talking about some different Gameday treats and eats and what to eat at the stadium versus eating it while you're watching in front of your own television. All that and some more fun all throughout the show tonight. We got 1 hour to get through all kinds of stuff. We'll probably be looking at recap of the White Sox game tonight up in Toronto, too, at some point. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Everybody buckle on up. Let's have some fun. And once again, welcome into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. I am your host, Adam Karnick. I am so glad that you are here to talk some Chicago sports with me tonight. Going to have a lot to get through in an hour tonight. Of course, we've got to be talking about all things Chicago Bears coming off of that preseason loss against Buffalo, and the news that Matt Nagy has once again officially declared his starting quarterback for the regular season. We're also going to be getting into some college football tonight. We had the new season debut earlier tonight here on IE Sports Radio of 3 and Out, the college edition, with Larry and Taryn. I want to get into some college football here later on tonight as that kicks off this Saturday down in Champaign later on. So we will get into that. And the White Sox game is going to be finishing up here at some point while we are on the show tonight. So we'll do a quick little recap of that when it wraps up and finishes up. But before we go any further, of course, we have to acknowledge our sponsors for this week. Starting with the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The Warriors took a tough loss this past weekend, 20-0 against the Las Vegas Saints. That drops them back to 500 on the year, 1 win and 1 loss. However, They will be back in action this weekend. They're on the road taking on the Desert Scorpions. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, or just look them up on Facebook by searching Southern California Warriors. And then our other sponsor this week, Background Check International Business. Are you looking to do a background check for a new hire? Let Kit Freeman take care of that. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. You can find them at their website, bcint.com, or on Facebook by searching Background Check International-BCI. And then, of course, IE Sports Radio. We are available on all of the major social platforms at IE Sports Radio, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Just search IE Sports Radio and you will find your way to us and all of the news that is fit to talk about all over the airwaves, whether it's here in Chicago or in New York. Pierre and Harrison do a great job on that, covering all things New York. They were off tonight, but normally they're on Wednesday nights. Or whether you're out in California with Taryn or Larry or any of the guys out there, or Gina, or just anywhere in the Midwest, just anywhere in the U.S., chances are we've got your show somewhere on IE Sports Radio. And then ways to follow along with this show, you can do that at IESRC on Twitter, or if you want to follow along with me personally on Twitter, you can do that at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live tonight, feel free to hop on into the chat room here on Spreaker. It's free. We can communicate back and forth and have some fun that way. Good evening, Taryn. I see him in the chat already. He's just finishing up his work day. I know he had a volleyball match he was covering, so he's just wrapping that up. And what up, Marcus? Good evening to you. Marcus will be on right after us. He will be doing his show Gloves Off, talking all things combat sports. You want to check that out, whether you're into boxing or MMA or whatever whatever gets your testosterone level raised. Marcus has got it for you there. So yeah, the new Wednesday night crew coming together and having some good things here on IE Sports. All right, so let's get into the show proper for tonight. The Bears this past weekend, I had to laugh, to be honest. I had a feeling as soon as they announced that Mitchell Trubisky was going to be starting the game for the Bills, that Josh Allen was going to be sitting the game out, you knew that if anybody ever had a preseason game circled on the calendar, it was going to be Mitchell Trubisky and this spot, a chance to come back to Soldier Field and take on the Bears. So I couldn't help but just chuckle and laugh when I was seeing all the numbers pour in from his performance on Saturday. I wasn't able to watch it live. I had obligations going on, but then I was seeing the numbers, and it was just, of course he was tearing the Bears apart. Of course he was. You knew that this was a game that he was just going to be hell-bent to prove to Matt Nagy, you made a mistake. You should never have given up on me. I've got what it takes to be a starting quarterback in this league. So good for Mitch. Congratulations. He finished with fantastic numbers. Would have been, if it was a real game and it counted in the regular season, it probably would have been one of his best starts. You know, it would have been one of those games that people like myself included would have been there. See, that's the guy we need. That's the Trubisky that we need out there on a week-in, week-out basis. There's the guy that we can win with and can win because of. But you knew that he was given extra gumption because it was the Bears and because it was Matt Nagy specifically on that other sideline, and Trubisky had felt disrespected. Good for him. Good for him on that game. Andy Dalton was still very underwhelming as a starting quarterback in that game. 11 of 17, 146 yards. He did have a touchdown. He also had a pick. but just so much of it was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, where you're just not getting any production from the Bears at all. I'm going through the drive summary here. First drive, 3 and out. Second drive, 3 and out. Third drive, hey, they got a first down right away, but it was still 3 plays and then a fumble. 3 and out. Then the touchdown, which was as much a terrific play by Rodney Adams as it was just sheer dumb luck on the part of Andy Dalton. It was a good read. It was recognizing that, hey, there's a guy that Rodney Adams is going to have one-on-one coverage. I trust that he can get past his man and get open. And if I just throw the ball up there, good things will happen. He still underthrew it. It still took the ball bouncing off of the defender's helmet and Rodney Adams doing an amazing job of concentrating and lifting the ball off of the defender's helmet and then corralling the catch and running downfield to finish it off. So even though, yes, oh man, it's a great deep bomb touchdown, it was as much the receiver bailing Andy Dalton out as it was Andy Dalton making a play. And shout out to Rodney Adams, by the way. He had an amazing weekend last weekend. If you missed the news, I know they had it in the broadcast, and he celebrated his touchdown by kind of demonstrating. He became a dad for the first time this past weekend, a little baby girl. So congratulations to Rodney Adams and his partner. I hope all are doing well and health safe. Speaking as a young dad myself, there's just no other feeling in the world quite like it. Power to the girl dads. Power to the girl dads. Rodney, you have entered a wonderful world, and may you have nothing but fun and excitement on the amazing adventure you're about to go down. And hopefully you get a little bit of sleep sometime, but don't count on it. So shout out to Rodney Adams and his and his partner and the birth of their little girl. Very exciting. So Adams, I think, is a guy that he's now had back-to-back really strong playoff appearances and preseason performances. He may have earned his way onto this roster, I think, it's kind of thin at wide receiver, not a whole lot of depth behind Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. You've got Bird and you've got Marquise Goodwin, who are going to make the roster, but there's some room there at another spot. It'll be interesting to see how things shake out, but I would not be surprised at all to see Rodney Adams make the final roster. He's made some good plays out there in both games. He seems to especially have a good rapport with Justin Fields. And the announcement came down, I believe it was yesterday morning. My days are getting a little mixed up here. Work has gotten into the very busy, insane part of the year, and I'm getting my days a little mixed up on when things happen. That's what happens when you start doing 9 and 10 and plus hour shifts on a daily basis, that they start to blend together after a while. But I believe it was yesterday morning that the word came down from Matt Nagy that good news, Justin Fields is going to start the preseason finale this weekend down in Tennessee against the Titans. Bad news, that's because Nagy is treating this like the old-fashioned, what he called old school, final preseason game, or the fourth preseason game, where effectively anybody of consequence doesn't play in the game so that they don't risk injury. So Justin Fields, even though he's going to start this game this weekend, he is not going to be the starting quarterback for the Bears come week 1 out in Los Angeles. I'll give Nagy credit. He was very open and honest right up front after they took Justin Fields that Andy Dalton is going to be the starter come week 1. And he has stuck with that. He has not changed that. He was very upfront. In some ways, it's very similar to, it reminds me of Theo Epstein in that regard, where Theo, when he was running the Cubs, he would come right out and tell you exactly what the strategy was. And you wouldn't believe it. You would, oh, that can't be what he's doing. He's got to be looking at some other things. He's got to be formulating other strategies and things like that. And it's no, he's going to right up front tell you what he's doing. And yet it's still shocking when they do it. Same thing here with Nagy. He has been very consistent all along that Andy Dalton was going to be the starter. Why? Why does Andy Dalton need to be the starter? And he said after the game on Saturday, oh, well, we need to see Andy in the regular season. Why? Why do you need to see Andy Dalton in a regular season game for the Bears? Wasn't that the whole point of getting an 11-year veteran that knows your offense forwards and backwards, is that you don't need to see him to know that he knows the offense? That was the whole point. Once you draft Justin Fields, you need to know whether or not Justin Fields is the guy. It behooves you as a franchise, as a head coach, as a general manager, whomever the case may be, you need to know what Justin Fields can do. And by all accounts, it's amazing. I've been listening on the radio a lot, and when I listen on the radio, I hear, right before commercial breaks a lot, I will hear, a national minute-and-a-half long blurb from some national talking head. Ever since the Bears drafted Justin Fields, there have been so many of those little 90-second blurbs that have been about the Bears and the excitement level and the buzz around the Bears that's happening not just locally, but obviously this is happening nationally. National writers, national talking heads, national people in the football media are excited about the Bears now that they have Justin Fields. Yet, there's this insistence that we've got to see Andy Dalton. Why? You know what Dalton is. After 11 seasons, if you don't know what Andy Dalton is, that's your own fault. That's your own problem. All you need to do is put in the tape. You know what he is. And after seeing him in these 2 preseason games, there's nothing there that inspires you to think that, oh man, he's going to catch lightning in a bottle this year. He's mediocre at best. He is replacement level, your emergency veteran starting quarterback that you know won't blow the game for you, but he's also not going to go out and win it for you. Why not put Justin Fields out there? You've seen what he can do in the games. And in the game against Buffalo, his numbers weren't great. He was 9 of 19, and yes, he took a brutal hit, one that darn near took his head off. And yes, that was his fault. He misread the coverage. He misdiagnosed the play and didn't realize that he was going to have to get the ball out quickly because there was going to be a free blitzer coming. But you know what? When they ran that exact same play a little bit later on in the game, he recognized it. He adjusted. He made the adjustment. It didn't happen more than once. And that's going to happen with a rookie. And by accounts, from what we're hearing in practice, he's hanging in there with Andy Dalton. Some days Dalton has the better of Fields. Some days Fields has the better of Dalton. But it's a pretty even and tight race. Fields is ready. there's no reason to be starting Andy Dalton. The excuse that I keep hearing come up is, oh, well, the Bears' offensive line just isn't very good. Do you really want to put Justin Fields behind that? Look, if you're waiting for the situation to be perfect, this is applicable in a lot of things in life. If you're waiting for the situation to be absolutely perfect before you do something, you're never going to do it. It's never going to be exactly perfect. If you keep making excuses that, oh, the offensive line isn't good enough, Fields is going to get killed, oh, the receivers aren't good enough, oh, this, that, or the other thing. If you're waiting for the situation to be perfect before you play Justin Fields, you may as well trade him now and get some draft picks, because you're never going to play him then. We know what Andy Dalton is. Fields is going to be the backup out there, which means that if Dalton gets hurt, Fields is up. Fields is the next guy up. You feel confident enough in him to be the backup to Andy Dalton. Matt Nagy has said it's Dalton's job to lose, that the only way Fields would wind up out there is if Andy Dalton fails. And a perfect example, Amanda just hopped into the chat. Amanda hosts our Minnesota show on Thursday nights. You can hear her tomorrow at 8 Central. I'm okay with Andy Dalton starting with a big cheesy grin. Yeah, the rest of the league, the rest of the division, all the teams that the Bears have to face are relieved that it's Andy Dalton starting, not Justin Fields. That tells you all you need to know right there. When your opponents are breathing a sigh of relief that it's the other guy starting, you picked the wrong guy. It's as simple as that. It's as plain as that. Nagy has decided that until Dalton screws up, he's going to be the starter. I can only hope that he screws up quickly. I mean, you look at the Bears' opening schedule. They've of course got the Rams the first week, then hosting the Bengals, at the Browns, hosting the Lions are the first 4 games. If the Bears are sub 500 after that, I hope then it becomes Justin Fields' time. I'd still have it be Justin Fields week 1, but we know that's not going to happen now. So frustrating, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens this Saturday night. Who knows? Maybe Justin will just perform so well that they have to rethink the whole strategy. I doubt it, but we'll see what comes of it. Speaking of Saturday, the Bears are not going to be the only football game on your televisions on Saturday. Saturday afternoon, the Fighting Illini kick off their 2021 season and the Big Ten 2021 season. We will discuss that and more Big Ten football news at the other side of a quick break. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back and in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Ladies and gentlemen, hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan on the WaitAMinuteShow.com. Ain't that right, Lopan?
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Before we move on to our next topic, we do have a final in the White Sox game tonight. The Toronto Blue Jays came back to win 3-1 over the Chicago White Sox. Alejandro Kirk had the game-winning RBI, hitting an RBI single to center field in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Robbie Ray was absolutely dominant tonight for the Blue Jays. Went 7 innings, gave up 1 run on 5 hits, 1 walk, 14 strikeouts. He had his slider working tonight, absolutely keeping the White Sox hitters off balance all night long. For the Sox, both Tim Anderson and Eloy Jimenez saw their respective hitting streaks end tonight. The Sox finished with just 6 hits as a club. Yoan Moncada had the 1 RBI for the White Sox tonight, an RBI single back in the 3rd inning. It was a good night for Lucas Giolito. He went 6 innings, 1 run on 5 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He and Ray were in a fantastic pitcher's duel through the first 6+ innings. But tonight, the game goes to the Blue Jays. They will then meet again in Toronto tomorrow afternoon. Carlos Rodon comes back off the injured list. He will get the start in that game tomorrow afternoon. That is, I believe, a 2:07 first pitch tomorrow afternoon for the White Sox and the Blue Jays to finish out that series before the Sox come home for the weekend to host the Cubs in the second half of the Red Line series. So, rough one tonight for the Sox. Had a hard time, just ran into a buzzsaw of good pitching and couldn't master it. So the Sox drop one tonight. They are still, even with that loss, they are 9 games in front of Cleveland for first place in the American League Central. They will still easily, no concerns over them falling out of first place in the American League Central anytime soon. But I did figure that game was going to wrap up while we were on the air, so I just wanted to give you a quick wrap up there on that game. So this Saturday is the start of the college football season. The Fighting Illini play at home in Champaign. The ESPN Gameday is going to be there to kick off the game. All kinds of festivities. Rah, rah, rah. Nebraska is the opponent, starting off with a conference game. A bit unusual in college football to start with a conference game right out of the gate, but that's what's going on for the Fighting Illini. Going to be a new era in Fighting Illini football. Brett Bielema takes over for the fired Lovie Smith. Bielema comes in after spending time, of course, at Wisconsin and Arkansas, and even last season he was the outside linebacker coach for the New York Giants. So somebody who's got experience not only at Power 5 programs, obviously at Arkansas, but also Big Ten experience from 2006 to 2012 at Wisconsin. So somebody who knows the Big Ten as well as knows college football. So we'll see what Bielema and the Illini can do. Not necessarily huge or high expectations for Illinois this first season. I was doing some quick reading and both before the show tonight and during that break just to brush up on the Fighting Illini football. Not super high expectations for the team overall. 2-3 wins at the most. Not necessarily going to be looking to have a fantastic season overall for the Illini, but you never know. Anytime you get a new head coach, that always provides a spark and gives you a breath of fresh air into a college campus and onto a team, and just a reset. It always feels good. And a 2-win season under a first-year head coach feels differently than a 2-win season off of a coach that's been there for 5 or 6 years like Lovie had been by the time last season came around. The Big Ten also made some interesting news earlier this week, announcing that it has entered into an alliance with several other conferences. The Pac-12, and the ACC and the Big Ten all formed an alliance. What does that really mean? They're still going to operate separately. They're unique conferences. They're not going to be joining forces or anything. They're not going to be poaching schools off of one another. Basically, this is in response to the SEC becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. We saw a couple of Big 12 schools, Texas among them, switch to the SEC, which I believe is going to be effective next year, if I remember correctly. Taryn, I know you were going to be in and out on the show tonight. Can you confirm for me by chance? I don't know if you guys talked about this, when the switch for Texas and the other Big 12 school over to the SEC was going to be taking place. I believe that was going to be next year as opposed to this season. I see Taryn is in the chat asking about Illinois and Northwestern women's volleyball. I will admit that the volleyball programs at those schools is a bit outside my wheelhouse. For those that don't know, and you should know, because whenever I was on Monday nights, Taryn would always try to plug Taryn's Set Point show right after mine when I was on Mondays. Taryn does an amazing job covering the sport of volleyball, not just in his native Southern California, but all across the country, and even keeping an eye on the international scene during the Olympics. Taryn really does an amazing job on that. So Taryn, I will happily and freely admit that the volleyball talent at Illinois and Northwestern is just a bit outside of my wheelhouse. Though I do know from listening to you that the Big Ten is strong in volleyball. That Northwestern has got a good team. If I remember correctly, the volleyball tournament has shrank last year and is probably going to stay a little bit more condensed. So it's going to make it harder for them to make the field. But certainly it'll be something to keep an eye on making the NCAA tournament, and hopefully they will make a showing and do the conference proud in there. So, and yes, and Taryn is confirming for me that yes, Texas and Oklahoma's Big 12 media contracts expire in 2025. So we're looking, that's when things are going to be happening there, moving to the SEC. But really what this alliance between the Big 10, the ACC, and the Pac-12, really all it is they're just trying to figure out how to combat the SEC and just how large and powerful and frankly rich, both in schools and monetarily, that the SEC is getting. I was reading some reports earlier today from like ESPN and CBS talking about the alliance, and really they're just kind of making this up as they go a little. They're kind of just flying by the seat of their pants, which really lets you know that this was purely reactionary to the SEC, that they saw the SEC get 2 more schools to get to a 16-school super conference, and they're scared. They don't know what to do. So they're going to form this alliance where basically what they're saying is, look, we're not going to try to poach schools off of one another. We're not necessarily going to we're not necessarily going to work as one entity, but we're just going to kind of agree to not do anything that would be intentionally put another one of the conferences at a disadvantage. You know, maybe not necessarily work together, but agree to not work separately towards things. And Terrence, the NCAA tournament for volleyball should be back to 64 teams this year. Well, good. That's good for them. Then definitely I would think that either Illinois or Northwestern, possibly even both, should make that field then. So that's good that they're expanding the field back up then after the pandemic. But reading this about this alliance that the Big Ten is part of, they haven't even figured out, are we going to use this as an advantage to try and schedule games against each other better? They see the SEC getting bigger, and they're scared. And that's just straight up, flat out, what it is. That they are just purely and simply scared. So, we'll see if anything comes of it. There's lots of talk that there's going to be changes coming to the way the NCAA does stuff, both at the football level and the basketball level, but also trickling down into the other non-revenue generating sports like volleyball, like baseball or hockey or any of the other what are sometimes referred to as the Olympic sports. I would have no problem with the NCAA having major changes. We'll leave it at that. This alliance that the Big Ten is part of, I don't know. I don't think that even they know really what it is or what it can be. But it was just a reactionary move to the SEC getting bigger and becoming just even more the premier, predominant conference in football, in collegiate football in the U.S., in the NCAA. All right, we have to take one more quick break, and then when we come back, I want everybody that's in the chat room tonight to be thinking about this during the break, and then when we come back, I want to hear from you guys. It's food week here at IE Sports Radio, and I want to know, do you eat the same things at home when you're watching a game as you do when you're actually at a game? Everybody in the chat, think about that. Get back to me. We are taking one more quick break. This is Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
To the Soccer Scoreboard Show with your host, Gabriel Montoya. This is the show for soccer, football fans, or whatever you call the beautiful game. Every week, I tackle the latest and greatest news from around the soccer world. From the English Premier League, to the World Cup, to MLS, Liga MX, and more. You can listen to the Soccer Scoreboard Show and our lineup of fantastic guests every Friday at noon here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Down! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. We've got one more segment that we are going to do tonight. It's a little bit more of a fun, kick back, be silly kind of a segment. Those of you that might have been listening a couple weeks ago remember when I did my Ask Me Anything segment to celebrate my 50th episode, 1 year of doing shows here on the network, and a lot of the questions had to do with food. Yes, I like to eat, I love to cook, and I have lots of opinions about food, and I don't mind sharing them. And so when word came down that this was going to be Food Week here at IE Sports Radio, that's kind of up my alley. So I threw it out there in the chat in case not everybody heard it before I went to my last break. I wanted to know from everybody out there in the chat room tonight, good evening to Mike, as I see he's snuck into the chat during the break there. that I wanted to know if you guys eat the same things if you're watching at home as you do if you're at the ballpark. Are you eating the same foods, or are you eating different foods? So throw me your suggestions, throw me your answers there on that, and I will get back to that right after I do one more shout out to our sponsors for the night. Our sponsors this week, again, at IE Sports Radio, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, or Facebook by searching Southern California Warriors. And then also Background Check International business. Are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes, such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. Find them at their website, bcint.com, or searching Facebook Background Check International-BCI. So, I know for me personally, if I am sitting at home, I eat very, very, very differently than I would if I'm going to the game. And I see in the group chat, Larry B shared pictures of the pizza pies that he and his lovely Cecilia made tonight. Oh my goodness, those do look tasty and yummy. Job well done, Larry, on those. Couple of pepperoni sausage pies. Job very well done. If I'm at home, all bets are off. I'm going for what's on hand. I'm going for whatever I got. I will put out a spread. The Super Bowl is one of my favorite games, if for no other reason than putting out the spread of food, be it wings or pizza or stromboli, which is for me it's effectively a pizza bread, if you will, that I'll do. Or we've had nachos and all the different food things that you can get. If I'm at home, it's all out there. It's an option for me. I'm going nuts with it. If I'm at a game, I'm being really conscientious of the fact that I don't have a table, that anything that I'm anything that I'm eating, I've got to hold on to with my hands. And I don't want to get my jersey or my sweater or whatever it is all covered in salsa or sauce or oil or grease. So I will be very, very, very selective while I'm at the game with what I'm eating. And I'm seeing Mike Pat jump into the chat, and Mike hosts Let's Whine About Sports, which he talks all about, obviously, sports. A lot of his Baltimore Orioles, who I think are on a 20-game losing streak now. My goodness, Mike, what do the Orioles have to do to buy a win? That's a month worth of losing there. But then he also fits in and throws in some awesome news about and education about different wines and sometimes what they pair with, what they don't pair with, when to drink them, how to drink them, etc., etc. If you are at all interested in vino, definitely check out Mike on Sunday nights. He does an excellent job. Mike is the exact opposite of me, though, when it comes to food, is that If he's at home, chips and dip or salsa. If he's at the games, look out, all bets are off. I will admit, when my wife and I, we go to one of the Cubs minor league affiliates over in South Bend, Indiana, the South Bend Cubs. We'll go over there, and they have some terrific concession items. One of my favorite things to get is the Philly cheesesteak nachos. Without being too gross, they don't. My insides don't always necessarily agree with them later, but they taste so good going down. I love getting them. They're just, oh my gosh, Philly cheesesteak as a nacho. You wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, maybe Cash and Chris can are going to listen in and chime in next week and tell me I'm a heathen. They host our Philly show on Tuesday nights, and who knows, maybe they'll chime in later in the week and tell me that I'm a complete heathen for making a Philly cheesesteak be a nacho and talk about how that tastes good. But oh my gosh, they are so good. They are worth it. They're one of the more expensive items on the menu, but they are so worth it. My wife and I will split them, and then we're usually good for the game then at that point. But that is admittedly very decadent for me. Usually if I'm at a ballpark, I am being very conscious of I don't want to wind up wearing whatever it is I'm eating. So I will stick to popcorn and a hot dog with very light on the toppings. I'll admit, I do not care for a Chicago-style dog. My wife loves them. They are the pièce de résistance for her when going to a ballpark is to have a Chicago-style dog. Me, ketchup and mustard, I'm good to go. And if that makes me an awful person, well, deal with it. But if I'm at a ballpark, oh man, I'm being really careful with how much I throw on there. Going to be light on both so I don't wind up wearing them. But ballparks, though, you got to get food while you're there. Get something. If you want to go nuts, go nuts. If you want to keep it simple, keep it simple. But if I'm at home, and especially if I know I'm having people over, oh man, all bets are off. Food is being made, and if you go hungry, it is your own dang fault. All right, that will do it for our show tonight. I hope that you had fun tonight. I know tonight was a lot more opinionated. I hope it wasn't too hot take for anybody tonight. I try to avoid the hot take scenario. Oh, Taryn chimes in. The Orioles actually beat the Angels, so the Orioles avoid the 20-game losing streak. Congratulations to Baltimore, and my condolences to the Angels for losing to the worst team in baseball. I want to thank you, one last thank you to both of our sponsors this week, the Southern California Warriors and Background Check International. Thank you both for continuing to support all things here at IE Sports. Thank you to Larry for all the hard work you do, whether you are hosting, whether you are recruiting, whether you are checking in on shows or working on getting sponsors, all that you do. I doff my cap to you, Larry, for all the hard work you do. Thank you to everybody hanging out in the chat tonight. Mike and Taryn and Amanda and Brandon and, of course, Marcus Los Great. He is coming up right after us to do Gloves Off. Definitely stick around and check that out. Thank you to everybody being there in the chat tonight. And finally, thank you guys for continuing to listen and come in and support me on a weekly basis. I really do appreciate it. You guys make it so much more fun to do this every single week. All right, that is our show for this week. Next week, we will have one last Bears preseason game to dissect and go over. There will be more college football to dissect, and we'll be closer to the start of Northwestern's season. Baseball is still happening. We've got the Crosstown Classic to finish up. All kinds of fun. Until then, everybody be safe, be good, and we will see you next time.